Okay, good evening everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It's We's Life Lab, where I talk about topics related to studying, dating, and life in general. Remember, this is where I share my subjective experience, so feel free to try out what works for you, and if it doesn't, just move on, okay? Ignore me. So, after knowing what majors are available from episode 1, today I will talk about how to decide which major suits you, natural science or social science, academic major or practical major. So, to predict which type of major that suits you, firstly you shouldn't think in black or white, one or two. It's called binary thinking. It means that choosing one thing doesn't mean that you have to completely give up the other side of the equation. So let me show you a diagram. Wait a minute. So here I am showing you a diagram, um, black and white, right? So on the screen you see there is a black part and a white part. They are completely separate. They doesn't have anything to do with each other. If it is black, it is pure black. There is no white in that area, and vice versa. So this way of thinking is called binary thinking, and it's not really good for you. Let me explain. Um, so I usually think in a spectrum. So at the one end, it's black, but it's not pure black. There is still some white in it. And at the other end, it's white, but there is still some trace of the color black in them. So there's nothing purely black or white. And there is this area of gray, many shades of gray in the middle. So it's not black or white, it's more black or it's more white. So let me show you what do I mean by saying all of these things. Um, so just because you choose a natural science major doesn't mean that you don't need to work on your people skill or soft skills. That's nonsense. And on the other side, if you are studying a social science major, it doesn't mean that you can just ignore finance or data related skills. You still need to know about those type of knowledge to be a better employee. And about the academic major or practical major, when you choose an academic major, it doesn't mean that you will only talk about like profound and abstract knowledge without any practical application. Even if you learn about something that is very abstract, you should still develop the knowledge and the skill to somehow translate those abstract ideas into something useful practically. Okay, and on the other side, if you study a practical major, you still need to spend some of your time to read academic materials to know, what technologies there are recently. You need to update your knowledge about your industry constantly. You need to supplement your knowledge from these academic journals. So again, you need to think in a spectrum, two sides of the equation, two extreme, black and white, they are not mutually exclusive, which means that choosing one side does not mean that you lose completely the other side. It's a matter of degree, I would say. So, for example, if you choose a major that is a social science major, it doesn't mean that it has nothing to do with natural science. It just has less natural science content. It because it is social science, right? So there would be more social science content, but there is still some trace of natural science content in that major. These two extremes, they don't exclude one another. They complement and they complete each other. So a person need both sides of the equation to balance and thrive. And this principle applies to many aspects of life, not just choosing a university major. So take myself for example. I study logistic and supply chain management, right? It's a practical natural science major. So why is it natural science? Because it has to do with optimizing system, arranging warehouses and coordinating, allocating trucks and container in the most optimal way. And why is it practical? It has to do with import, export, transportation, doing business, warehouse, stocks, those things. It's very easy to comprehend, right? As I talked in the previous episode. But it still has to do with social science. Why? Because doing logistic, we when you design a logistic system, you need to understand the socio-economic characteristic of that region to suit the type of person living in that area. You understand what do I mean? You still need to understand about their psychology, their behavior, and most importantly, if you work in logistics, you will have to negotiate back and forth with your customer, with your supplier a lot of times. You gotta learn how to create persuasive presentation sales. You gotta work with your soft skill really much. And although it is a practical major for most of the time, you still need to spend time, a little bit of time, not you don't need to spend too much time, but you still need to spend time to update, to how do I say, keep in touch with the academic side of the logistic industry, because you gotta know about the latest and the cutting edge new technologies that they study about. Um, one of my, how do I say, one of the things that I need to do is I gotta find the ways to bridge the gap between the academic research and practical application that is very useful for everyone. Now, on the other side of the equation, let's talk about anthropology, right? It is a social science major and it's very, how do I say, academically oriented. Why? Because firstly, social science, that's obvious, right? You got to learn about, like, for example, some subject I see in Vietnamese university, they study about mass media culture, or they learn about economic, cultural, social, and ethnic issues in free regions at Vietnam, right? So why is it academic related? Because you got to do a lot of research, tons of research, right? But it still has some trace of natural science content in it. For example, how do you process and gather data? How do you make sense of qualitative and quantitative data? How do you design a project? How do you design a research that is logic and scientifically proven? How do you use statistics to make sense of your research? Now, let's come to the practical part. Although this is a very academically driven major, it still has something to do with the practical life. No matter how complex or high level the research is, ultimately, your aim of researching about anthropology is that you aim to improve your daily life, right? So you got to find out some way to bridge the gap between the academic research and practical applications, because the bottom line is that you use the things that you research about to improve your daily life, right? So again, let's recap this talk. I'll share to you the graph again. So it is not black or white. It's not binary. You choosing one thing doesn't mean that you remove completely the other side of the equation. No, it's more like a spectrum. Is it more white or is it more black? If you choose black, there's still a little bit of white in it, right? It's a spectrum. Usually it's gray. There's no pure black, there's no pure white. So you have to work with both sides of the equation. It's a matter of degree, right? So That's it for the video today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.